Hi, my name is RJ Mathews. I chose my presentation on case number 4, providing the greatest level of service, providing exceptional service for the client. This case involves an accounting firm who is performing audit services for a distribution company. This distribution company happens to be one of the managing director's largest clients, and this managing director instructs his audit team to provide the greatest level of service to this client. During the course of the audit manager approaches one of his senior accountants and asks him to prepare the federal tax return. Being a distribution company and carrying thousands of products on hand, inventory valuation is a big part of this client's tax return. And in trying to decide what inventory valuation method to use and what would be most beneficial to his client on the tax return, the audit manager suggests to the senior accountant that he use a random sampling method. Further, he suggests that instead of just doing one sample, he perform 1,000 samples, and from those 1,000 samples pick the best one, the one that is most beneficial on the tax return. This senior accountant is not a tax expert, but feels uncomfortable with this method that the audit manager has suggested. The audit manager sees this and tells the senior accountant that part of providing the highest level of service for this client is instead of just doing one sample, doing 1,000 samples and picking the best. As the senior accountant considers this, like I say, he's not comfortable with it, but as far as he knows, it's not against the letter of the law. In an effort, I think, to serve the best interests of our clients in this particular case, there's a few questions that we need to consider. Are we obligated to blindly follow our superiors? Do we have an obligation to further educate ourselves on the accounting methods we're unsure of? Are tax benefits, in this case, the only thing that defined the best interest of our client and providing that client exceptional service? What are the possible repercussions to our firm if we choose to use this method? And what are the possible repercussions if we choose not to use this method? Do we have an obligation to talk to the managing director about our issue? And ultimately, what can we do that will benefit all parties involved? The book suggests 4 possible solutions. The first is to simply do what the audit manager tells us. He is our superior, and he can be responsible for it. Number 2 is to claim that you're uncomfortable with this and that it would be in the client's best interest to have an accountant on it that was more familiar with these methods, with the industry, and with tax laws, and basically remove yourself from the case, from the situation. Number 3 is to approach the managing director, explain to him your concerns and your feelings that maybe this is tantamount to tax fraud, and the possible situations that the firm could be in if we continue with this course. Number 4 is to seek the advice of the head of the tax department, and basically let him deal with the managing director and give you advice on what to do. For me, I immediately throw out number 1 and number 2. Number 1, if there's anything that I've learned from the first couple of cases that we've studied, it's never to just blindly follow superior. I'm going to be implicated just as much as he is if something goes wrong. Number 2, I don't think running away from things is a good way to deal with anything in life. And in this case, I don't think it's a good way to impress managers, to move your way up in the firm and to be viewed as somebody who can handle things in the firm. And ultimately that leaves talking with the managing director and the head of the tax department. Me, I'm a little bit old school. I think that I'd prefer to follow a rank and file system. I would go to the head of the tax department and discuss it with him. But first, I'd want to educate myself. I'd want to know better whether or not this is in fact acceptable. And as I found out that it wasn't, I would take that information with me into my discussion with the head of the tax department. I would let him know of my concerns, and I would let him talk with the managing director about it. Thank you.